Today we will cover a very important strategy in equations called padding. It's not too hard usually, so players begin to learn it in the minor division. However, you do need to know power and root operations. So if you don't know those operations, click on the banner in the top right to my video where I teach it. Anyways, let's get into this strategy. So first of all, what is padding? Well, padding unnecessarily makes an equation longer. So if you look at this example, this is 5 plus 0 times 1 divided by 1. 5 is the stem of this equation. Adding 0, multiplying by 1, and dividing by 1 keep this stem the same. They don't change it at all. So in the end, this is all equal to 5, although this is the real core of this equation. This is all just unnecessary junk attached to it. So what are the benefits of padding? Why should you pad? Well, padding allows you to move cubes to required on your turn to confuse opponents. So if we go back here, people could move these operations, plus the multiplication and the division, to the required, and then they can start confusing their opponents because they're moving a lot of operations to required. Additionally, you could also use up cubes that opponents put in required on a defensive note. So if somebody moves stuff to required, they moved operations, they moved a 1 or a 0, you could use those in your solution defensively with padding. And then the third one here is to overwhelm opponents if they don't think quick enough. If you are moving cubes to required constantly every single turn, your opponent might become overwhelmed because they're not sure what to do. So let's go through the types of padding. First one is adding or subtracting by 0. If you add or subtract a number by 0, that keeps that number the same. If there are no zeros, you can make a 0 by subtracting two of the same number by each other. Like for example, 8 minus 8, that's 0. And then you can add that to something else. So here are some examples. The first one is 7 plus 0 equals 7. Adding 0 to a number keeps that number the same. Subtracting 0 to a number keeps that number the same. 0 plus 4 minus 0. You're adding and subtracting 0, but that will keep the stem, which is 4, the same. And then the next example here is 6 times 2 plus in parentheses 4 minus 4. 6 times 2 is the stem here. This is 12. That's what we're aiming for. And we're adding 0 because 4 minus 4 is 0. And then our final example here looks a little bit complicated, but it's actually pretty straightforward. The stem is 5 to the power of 2. That's 25. But then if you look here, 4 minus 4 is 0, and we're adding that to 25. And then here, 9 minus, in parentheses, 6 plus 3, that's just 9 minus 9 is 0. So we're adding and subtracting 0 to our stem, and that keeps the answer at 25. Our next step of padding here is multiplying or dividing by 1. Multiplying or dividing any number by 1 keeps the number the same. Do not add or subtract by 1, don't confuse it, because adding or subtracting by 1 raises the value or decreases the value of your stem by 1. So you want to be careful to not mix up addition and subtraction with multiplication and division. And finally here, multiplying by 0 makes the answer 0. We're going to cover 0 multiplication in another video that covers padding more, in another video that covers more complicated padding. So we're in the intro to padding video here, but I'm going to make a video soon on more complicated padding, and we'll discuss that there. Some examples here are 7 times 1 equals 7. 7 divided by 1 equals 7. Both of these examples are multiplying and dividing by 1. Keeps the stem the same. 4 times, in parentheses, 3 divided by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1, and then 4 times 1 is 4. And then here, 6 times 2 is 12. Times, in parentheses, 9 minus 8, and that's 1. So 6 times 2 is 12, times 1 is 12. And then this example is a little bit longer. 5 to the power of 2 is 25, that's for our stem. Times, in parentheses, 4 minus 3. 4 minus 3 is 1, so we're multiplying by 1 there. This keeps the stem the same. Let's move on to the next part. 9 minus, in parentheses, 2 to the power of 3. 2 to the power of 3 is just 2 times 2 times 2, and that's 8. So 9 minus 8 is 1. We're dividing by 1. So if you guys see here, the pattern throughout all these examples, you're multiplying or dividing by 1. So 5 to the power of 2 is 25 times 1 divided by 1. Those are padding, and we keep this stem in our final solution. First power and first root is our final type of basic padding. Raising any number to the first power keeps the number the same, and doing the first root of any number results in that number. Only applies to the first root and the first power, not the second power or beyond. Some examples of this one is 7 to the power of 1. It's being raised to the first power, so it's going to stay the same. 1 root 7. Notice how in academic games we're putting the 1 to the left of the root. We're not putting it in the space, the tiny space up there. In academic games, you write it large next on the left. So 1 root 7 is equal to 7. 1 root, parentheses 4 to the power of 1 equals 4. If you look here, 4 to the power of 1 is 4, and then 1 root any number is that number, so 1 root 4 is equal to 4. In this example, 6 to the power of 2 to the power of 1. 6 to the power of 2 is our stem. That is 36. But if you're raising it to the first power, 36 to the power of 1 is going to result in the same number because of our padding, so that's 36. And in this final example here, this is a bit longer. 5 to the power of 2 is 25. There's our stem. Now we're going to be raising to a power, and that power is going to be 5 plus 4 minus 1, which is 8. 8 divided by 8 is 1. That power is going to be 1. We're raising to the first power. All of this is equal to 1. It looks complicated, but it's not, because it all comes down to 1. And then our stem, 25 to the power of 1, the first power, is equal to 25. So I have some drills for you guys. Our first drill, question 1 and question 2, are completely different questions. I want to make sure that this is out before we do it. These are different questions. Question 1 is this entire mat here, and then question 2 is the one there. So be sure to recognize that these are different questions. You would want to write a solution for each of these goals by using padding, and you're going to have to use padding because the only way to get a solution is through using padding. Use all of the cubes in required and permitted. None of them are left out. You'll have to use all of them. The one on the right is a little bit harder than the one on the left. Question 2 is a bit harder, but take some time to write a solution. Pause the video if needed. The answers here are, the first one, 8 plus 0 times 1. 8 plus 0 is 8, and then if you multiply that by 1, that's also 8. That's the pattern. On this side here, question 2, the answer is a little bit more complicated. 1 root in parentheses 6 minus 1 divided by in parentheses 9 minus 8. Let's break this one down. 6 minus 1 is 5. That's the stem. And then if you divide by 9 minus 8, you're dividing by 1. 5 divided by 1 is 5. And the first root of any number is that number. So 1 root 5 is 5, and 5 equals 5. So this solution works. So here's another drill, a multiple choice question. Which is equal to 7? A, 7 times 0 equals 7. B, 6 plus 2, parentheses minus in parentheses 1 divided by 0 equals 7. C, 1 to the power of 7 equals 7. Or D, 7 times 1 in parentheses plus 0 equals 7. Pause the video if you need for this one. The correct answer is D, 7 times 1 plus 0. Let's go through each of these options. For A, 7 times 0 is 7 because any number multiplied by 0 is 0, not 7. 6 plus 2 is 8, and if you subtract 1 divided by 0, that wouldn't be right because 1 divided by 0 is illegal. There is no tangible value for this. There's no value for this. This is illegal. You can't write this in any solution. 1 divided by 0 is not allowed. So this solution is automatically incorrect. 1 to the power of 7 is actually 1. So this is not correct. C isn't right. And then D, parentheses 7 times 1, that's 7. Plus 0, you're adding nothing to that. So we're staying at 7, and that's the goal. So the answer is D. Here's another one. Which is equal to 2? A, 1 root in parentheses 2 times parentheses 7 divided by 7. B, 0 times in parentheses 3 minus 1 equals 2. C, 2 times in parentheses 1 divided by 0 equals 2. Or D, 8 divided by 4 to the power of in parentheses 6 minus 6. The correct answer here is A. 1 root keeps everything inside of that root the same. So 1 root in parentheses 2 times, that's the stem. 7 divided by 7 is 1. 2 times 1 is 2. 1 root 2 is 2. So this is correct. Let's go through the other 3 to show how they're wrong. 0 times any number is 0. 3 minus 1 is 2, but that doesn't matter because if you multiply 0 by any number, you're going to end up with 0. So this is wrong. C is 2 times in parentheses 1 divided by 0. You guys remember 1 divided by 0 is illegal, so this solution is wrong. And then D, 8 divided by 4 to the power of 6 minus 6. Initially, this one might look right because we got the stem, 8 divided by 4, that's 2, and then we're raising it to the power of 0. But anything raised to the power of 0 is actually 1. So this wouldn't be 2, it would be 1, the answer. So that's why it's wrong. That's it for this video. Please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to be the first to receive new content. We are currently accepting video requests. You can email at the email address below. I'm also going to produce a video that covers more complicated padding, and then there's a strategy called the whole strategy that I will teach as well. It's very useful. So stay tuned for that video. Until next time, see you later.